Okay, I think we're about ready to get set here. 7:01, and my computer's doing that craziness again. All right, let me get a couple things set here and then we'll go. All right, I think we got there. Okay, so 7:02. Sorry, I'm running just a tad late here. And we are 21 February 2023. And hello, Melissa. Hope you can hear and see me. Give me a sound check if you would.
I can hear you.
Great. Okay, that's what I want then.
Your screen's going in and out.
Yeah, there's some with this computer, I think. And so, can you see the screen though that I'm showing?
Yes, I can.
All right, is that coming across clear?
Yes.
All right, then I'm not going to worry about the video. I'll just do the sound again, and or audio, just audio only, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why we're having an issue, but maybe it's just telling me it's time to get a new computer,
Yeah, right.
which I don't need to do. All right, um, so wow, week 7, huh?
Yeah. Went by fast.
Week 7. This is LDR 300. Leadership Experience is the text by Richard Daft, 21st of February. So we only got another session and you're on to bigger and better things. Appreciate everybody being here or watching, or in your particular case, thank you for joining.
Yeah.
So you'll see that I've sent out the assignment instructions as always. Those usually go out on Thursday. Scoring rubric for final paper went out. Sent that out on the 18th. So hopefully everybody got a chance to take a look at it. If not, we'll look at it for a second here in just a minute. First thing that I want to do though is apologize to you all for whatever reason the grade book not showing quizzes. So we went through it last week, and I still was having a hard time figuring it out, but it is showing now. And it turns out that one of the settings, and there's multiple settings. In fact, I'll show you here in just a second. As an example, week 8, if I go into the settings, there are a lot of options. And so when we set up a quiz, we could set up the timing, the grade, question behavior, review options, blah, blah, blah. And those review options have settings during the attempt, meaning your attempt, immediately after your attempt, later while the quiz is still open, and later after the quiz has closed, meaning the timings closed as when I've closed the quiz. So normally the school tells us they want us to just allow the points view only. And for some reason, it decided to react adversely to that halfway through the course. And so put a couple more after the quiz is closed, the attempt and whether correct. So I've given you a little extra help that the school Tillman didn't direct us to do. So I'm probably violating one to give the other, but I'm happy to do that because I wasn't a big fan of the original intention on why. This gets back to some perceived cheating going on.
Mm.
So the decision was again, hey, it's, whatever you got to do, you got to do. But why it decided to do that because those settings have been in place for months now.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it just decided, hey, I don't like quiz number 5 through 8. So the fix. So I'm not going to argue with it. If it works for you, great. It appears to. So
Yes.
we're just going to drive on with it.
Awesome.
All right. So announcements. Scoring rubric for the final paper. Final paper's worth 30% of your grade, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so. Yeah, 30%.
All right. We got to make sure we have that right. So let's double check that. And the way we double check that is let's go down to it. So I navigate the screen here, back to week 8. And final paper. Yep, 30% of the grade. All right. So shouldn't be any surprise as to what I'm looking for. If there is, then we need to go over it. But they should be proofread. And again, I reemphasize proofreading. Don't just rely on Microsoft grammar and spell check. Although it does a great job, it doesn't catch certain things. It doesn't catch use of a wrong word that is spelled correctly.
Right.
So proofread your paper as well. Try to make it free of spelling grammatical errors. I am not an English major, so the more arcane rules I probably don't abide by. But even I can tell when you've got a run-on sentence or an incomplete sentence or use of the wrong
Punctuation.
Thank you. And make sure you properly cite and are in accordance with the APA standards. The paper needs to be done and uploaded in Moodle no later than 23:59, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, 5 March. And it's 7 to 8 pages. I don't grade on page count, but it needs to be 7 to 8 pages. No, the cover sheet, the table of contents, reference page do not count as part of 7 to 8 pages. Again, let's be more concerned about what we're putting in those pages than how many pages. If you've got good content, you've used brevity, and you can articulate your points such that you're able to do it in less than 7 pages, then more power to you. But generally, this gives you an idea of how much work should be going into this. As such, if it takes you 30 pages to do it, then go for it. I may not necessarily be happy because I read everything you said, but if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. Double spaced, 1-inch margins, 12-inch or 12-point font. Some aren't using that for their homework, and I'm letting it go. But on your final paper, that's part of your grade, ability to follow instructions. Reference list, minimum 1 reference, which would be the DAFT textbook. Okay, we've talked about that. Most of you are doing good with bringing in what your learning points are from the text, and then using that, reinforcing that with your own thoughts as the evidence of your conclusion. Use paragraph headers to address all the points and assist your reader. It'd be me. All right, so section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus an introduction paragraph and a concluding paragraph. Comes to about 7 paragraph headers you probably are going to have. At a minimum, you can have more, depending on how you organize. So let's go to grading rubric. Oh, I already did that. Hold on. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Oh, well. Sorry for the delay here.
It's okay.
All right. So for this, do you see AY22 LDR 300 Leadership Effectiveness Paper Grading Rubric?
Yes.
All right. So content, total possible 21 points. Organization and structure, total possible of 5 points. Style and grammar, total possible of 4 points. 21 plus 5 is 26. Plus 4 is 30 points out of 100, right?
Right.
And that's how you'll be graded. Each of the questions answered, each is worth 3 points each. 7 times 3 is 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you fail to provide me a concluding paragraph, what's the max you can get on your paper if you ace everything else? Probably a 97, right?
Right.
Because you forgot to give me a concluding paragraph, which is worth
3 points.
3 points, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. Then organization and structure. Position statement. We've talked about that, right? The fundamental relationship, the one that matters the most, is your conclusion and the evidence you use to support it. To be an effective leader, I think you need to have X, Y, and Z. Right? Pretty
Right.
good position statement. All right. How well you support that? That's your evidence. Okay. How well did you structure your paper? By jumping all around, or does it flow?
Mm-hmm.
Syntax, instruction, connections, and transitions. Okay.
Right.
And style and grammar, originality. If you are quoting everything out of the book and from other people to the degree that there is no you in this paper, it's all quotes, you're going to lose some points. And that will include originality. Then we'll go on from there. But tone, rhetoric, mechanics, and punctuation. Okay?
Right.
All right. So you come up with your statement. You provide an introduction paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Your position statement will go into that introduction paragraph. Tells me the way forward. Then I hit section 1. You give me the importance of effective leadership in your words. Effective leadership in organizations is critical in order to blah, blah, blah. See, I almost the answer there. Find out leaders can further develop future leaders within the organization by following these basic leadership concepts, right? What are these basic leadership concepts? Well, in your mind, there are 3 because I've asked you for 3. And these concepts are X, Y, and Z. I've assessed my strengths in X and Y and my weakness in Z, or I've addressed my strengths and weaknesses in each of the 3. However you want to do it. Mm-hmm. Because I have some self-identified strengths, I'm going to effectively employ those. Because I have some self-identified weaknesses, I am going to need to develop those, better utilize them. How do I plan to improve my weaknesses or otherwise improve my workplace effectiveness? by focusing on my strengths and improving those, as well as in strengthening my weaknesses, or by hiding my weaknesses and only working on my strengths, or by hiring somebody to do everything I need to do. I don't know. It's whatever your plan is. But it needs to be more than I plan on improving my communication skills in order to work on my weakness in communication skills. Okay, that doesn't tell them anything, does it?
No.
All right, that's not a plan. You may have remembered certain planning processes. You could certainly use those, or you could say, as part of self-development and communication, I am going to register for an effective speaking class, or I'm going to join Toastmasters, or I'm going to do some self-study on delivery and how to give a public speaking, because that's one of my weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm getting at?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the rubric. I'm going to cancel out of that. We should be back to picture of the textbook,
Yes.
right? So hold on to the text. I encourage you to, because it's something you'll go back and reference time and again. I've just been given a contract to cover LDR 440 immediately following the end of this class. I don't know if you're in my LDR 440 class or not. If you
No,
are,
I'm taking accounting.
okay, good. I'm proud of you. All right. LDR 440 is leading change. And in that book, we will, or in that textbook, we'll cover things like leading change, but it also will require going back to this textbook, the DAF text. And then certainly if you have me for LDR 490, which is the leadership capstone course, we will heavily use the DAF text to refer. No, we will not use the text officially in the course. You have other readings to do, but those other readings require an in-depth knowledge of leadership fundamentals, principles, concepts, methods, models, etc. Where did you learn those? Hopefully you learned them in this course. That's why it's a prerequisite. So I really encourage you to keep this text, or whatever it is you have of it, for reference in future coursework, to be sure, and not just as you matriculate through University of Mount Olive, but any future universities you go through, and keep it for your own personal use and after you've done your studies, whether that's in leading a work organization or social or even a family unit. So I've done all the talking. I apologize. What did you have for us?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I apologize for doing all the talking. I was opening it up to any questions or concerns or comments you've got for us.
No, I mean, you definitely covered the rubric and the paper that's due soon. Maybe just if you want to go over the homework for this week.
All right. So week 8.
Week 7.
I'm sorry, you said for this week. I
Yes.
apologize. I got Eric with me. So week 7. Tomorrow you're going to answer. Well, look at that. I'll leave you off with just one question. How about that? But it probably is a 2-part, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. See, don't get off easy here. All right. So chapter 13. We're talking about followers or subordinate leadership. Good. I love it. And the text gives you 5 ways of showing courage as a subordinate leader, as a follower, thinking of your own experience, which one of the courage two is the most important, identify that type of courage, and then elaborate on why you selected that one. Okay, easy enough. So there's 5 in the text, you pick one, and you say, I choose it because, and then probably give a reason as a historical reference or something that gives us some perspective.
Right.
And then, because this is a leadership class, I'm going to ask you to give me 2 ways, minimum, that you can build into your organization the ability, all right, means, environment, or conditions that allow subordinates to develop this courage. Okay.
So how I can get,
tell me in your organization the courage to whatever it is, say it's speak freely, then how can you develop that in your subordinates of this organization if it's that important?
okay.
If I ask people to speak freely, but every time they come in to see me, I shoot the messenger, I probably have not developed the means, environment, or conditions that allow them to develop, have I?
Right. Correct.
And we've seen that. If I've had bosses, oh, I have an open door policy. Yeah, except you also want me to use the chain of command because every time I come in to see you in your open door, you ask whether I went through my immediate manager. So we've got a conflict there, don't we?
Right. Okay.
We've seen that. So it's kind of it's a kind of not a catch, but it's a let's make sure we've thought this through a little bit because this kind of originated in a course portion I taught for the Marine Corps University where we had our students write their command philosophy um, in one page, and you post that upon assuming command of their next organization. Allows people to understand what it is you find important. And every time I read somebody say, oh, well, I have an open door policy, I cringed because in the Marine Corps, it is very rare we want to see a private going straight in to see a battalion commander. Usually, we want to exercise the chain of command. In other words, if the private has an issue, that private is able to go see his or her squad leader or fire team leader, squad leader, platoon commander, platoon sergeant, company commander, company first sergeant, right? So I would tell people, okay, you said this. Now, how are you going to reinforce it in your organization? And that's usually the catch. Somebody says, ooh, I'm being a little contradictory here. But good stuff. I love it. Then we go into our know itselfs. 13.3 and 14.2. I don't have those at the top of my head, but I'm assuming one of them is, are you an annoying follower? I think one of them is, are you annoying as a follower?
Okay. I have to look at that.
Do you have the text in front of you?
I do not. I could pull it.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry to make you do that. And I think that's 13.3 is one of my favorite exercises because it asks if you're annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't looked at that yet. Let's see. 13. 13.3.
Should be on page 509.
Yes. It's thinking. Okay. Yeah. 13.3 is ready for coaching.
Ah, good. Okay, even better. So we didn't have to worry about being annoying. Good. Okay, I like it. So one of the major aspects of looking at leadership, a lot of people think of terms of being a coach. Um, Certainly, when we talk about leading change, coaching is one of those activities.
Mhm.
How else can one lead change? Well, you can lead change by directing, by demanding, by um, by coercing. You
Mhm.
can direct change by being a caretaker or a sense giver. Um, there's different aspects. So, coaching is one of those very good ways. Okay, good. If you have it, can you go to 14.2
Yeah.
on page 539?
539. That one is cultural preference inventory.
Good. Okay. So we're kind of getting into the not necessarily diversity aspects, but how cultures vary. And typically we think of international type of organizations using what we've learned here in the States as opposed to what we're going to learn or utilize in other countries, in other cultures of those countries. It would not surprise you to learn that certain nonverbal body language that is okay in the US is highly offensive in other countries.
Mhm.
Showing the soles of your feet to someone in the Mideast is an insult.
Mhm.
Using the OK sign or the thumbs up in the US is much different than in some nations where you, if aren't careful, are going to signal that you're interested in a romantic interlude with somebody who sells their service. The use of certain motivational techniques in the US do not respond or are not responded to very well in other cultures. Conversely, there are certain um, methods that need to be observed if you're going to have effectiveness. So good. I like it. Oh, there's our 10-minute notice.
Oh, okay.
So this is, yeah, fun chapter, fun chapter. It's kind of fun to see um, where we kind of fit and then try to make heads or tails out of our own culture. And,
Right.
and this is important because every organization um, has a culture.
Right.
And that may be articulated in the um, aspects of the organization, or it may be counter to what the organization says they're all about. There are times when you can walk into an institution, an organization, and you can instantly tell what the culture is and understand that's probably not what the owners want. I know I have. So a
Mhm.
lot of times culture is not readily observant. In other words, it's below the surface. Hence, there will be use in, I think, the text or in other textbooks. Culture is represented as an iceberg. In other words, the majority of the culture is below the surface, not above the surface. So that's why it becomes very difficult to change an organization's culture. Why is this important? Well, as more and more companies continue to do mergers and acquisitions,
Mm.
M&A, this becomes a systemic problem and an endemic problem because recently I've had my local bank merge with another bank.
Mm.
Okay, well, banking cultures should generally be the same, but they're not. Each bank had its own. And so you have to come to grips with you're bringing in through a merger or an acquisition another culture and how well you respond to that and how well you encourage the best parts of that culture, how some of that you assimilate it, how some of that you take on because you wanted it to.
Mhm.
It's all very interesting. When we talk about um, a team that fail in sports arena that is failing, one of the first things you always see the head coach having to come in and do is talk about how they've got to change the culture. Um, if you look at a very famous sports figure by the name of Deion Sanders, prime time, who
Mhm.
is just to become the head coach of the University of Colorado, you see that's what he is working on right now. He is changing the culture. Um, and that becomes a very, very difficult thing to do.
Mhm.
So it's always fascinating to see when somebody is successful at it. Good. All
Yeah.
right. Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. And then you've got your quiz. Normal quiz
Yes.
is no surprises there. 45
Mhm.
minutes, one attempt. And there are the PowerPoint slides for chapters 13 and 14. Okay, good. All right.
Yes.
Well, again, I encourage you, you see what needs to be done, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I appreciate, well, you're
Thank you.
very conscientious on your studies, and you're not satisfied with just the minimum. Hence the reason
Mm-mm.
um, you're getting in the range of responses and grades that you are getting, because um, a lot of the minimums, people get surprised to hear that a minimum does not always translate into an A. A
Right.
minimum is just that, and that is the baseline expectation. So I tend to push everybody to a little bit beyond that,
Mhm.
and glad to see you responded that to it.
No, thank you.
All right. Well, if you don't have anything, I'm gonna let us go.
No, I think I'm good. I think you, yeah, thank you for covering all that.
Okay. Well, my pleasure. That's what I'm here for.
Mhm.
Again, should not be any surprises.
No.
And again, it's well, my goodness, what strengths and weaknesses do I have? Well, you've been doing them, all those leadership exercises. So, just pick three
3.
and
Okay.
or five. But just you don't have to completely uh, write the paper. Hopefully,
Mm.
at least portion of it has been written for you, or you've
Right.
already written.
Right. We can, yeah, pull from our exercises.
Yeah. All right.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and keep charging. I'm going to go off and make some cornbread. I cooked up some chili tonight, even though it's 70 degrees out.
I know it's warm.
The girls wanted it, so
Aw.
happy to do it.
Yep. I always like some cornbread, so can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, I'll brag on my cornbread. I make it pretty decent. I use the Jif mix, and
Um,
I if there's one thing I can't stand is dried out cornbread. So
yeah.
that is
Nope.
not a problem with mine. But
Yeah, no. I like the sweet cornbread, so
yeah, that I mine is not quite. You wouldn't quite call it sweet, but it is in that category. So,
okay.
uh, but I'm with you. I'm well, some people will make it very sweet with a honey or something on it. So it
Nah,
gets to be a little bit too much for
too
me.
much. Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Well, listen, thank you for your contribution and joining in tonight. And I wish you the best of luck.
All right. No, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, take good care.
All right. You too.
Okay. Bye
Bye
now.
bye.